Sir, is there a background noise at your place? There is a lot of background noise.
XLR Shankar, you mute பண்ணுங்க.
Now it's better. Now it's clear, Shankar. Now it's clear. Yes. Otherwise, I was seeing like you can get a lot of. सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Fulfillment. The state of self-realization is fulfillment.
Is fulfillment. The bliss of self-realization is infinite. A person who revels in that state of bliss remains absolutely fulfilled. The greatest happiness that the world can provide cannot enhance his bliss, nor can the deepest sorrow diminish it. That state of supreme fulfillment is inconceivable. It cannot be captured in words. Reveling in the absolute bliss within, the self-realized remains wholly satiated, fulfilled. He requires nothing, aspires for nothing, no physical pleasure, no emotional joy, no intellectual satisfaction can augment his state of supreme bliss. Alexander the Great, Emperor of Greece, came to India. He had a desire to meet one such sage. He was led to the bank of river Indus. He found a sage lying on the ground, basking in the sunlight, bare-bodied, barefooted. The emperor was thrilled at the sight of the holy man. He requested the sage to accompany him to his country, offered him wealth, power, pleasure for acceding to his request. The sage smiled at him. He told him he had everything. He was everything. He was everywhere and did not need anything, nor wish to go anywhere. Alexander insisted that he accede to his request. The sage laughed at his immaturity. The emperor felt insulted. Acting impulsively, he imprisoned the sage. The wiser counselors warned the emperor of the consequences of such a sacrilegious act. Alexander took the advice. He realized the seriousness of his offense. He went up to the prison. There was the man relaxed, gazing at the sunbeam coming from an opening above. The emperor sought the good man's pardon. He beseeched him to accept a boon. The sage reiterated that he required nothing. Now the emperor reverentially pleaded with him to accept it just to satisfy his conscience. The sage was impressed at his devotion. He complied. In that case, dear king, please take a step aside and let the sunbeam fall on my eyes.
The last quality of the intrinsic being is fulfillment. Is fulfillment. Is talking about that individual's state of inner fulfillment. Fulfillment because recognizing the Paripurna. Once you recognize the Purnatvam, the completeness, fulfillment is there. Unfulfillment is when you feel that you lack in something. You feel that you lack something, you believe that you lack something, and by acquiring that, fulfillment comes. So there is an inner sense of unfulfillment, and that inner sense of unfulfillment makes a person believe that if I acquire that, I will attain fulfillment. In the case of this person here, he has recognized the true nature, as a result of which, true nature means Purnatvam, the completeness. The moment you recognize the completeness, automatically there is an inner fulfillment. That inner fulfillment, how does it manifest itself? No physical pleasure, no emotional joy, no intellectual satisfaction can augment that state of supreme bliss. Nothing can be added to that bliss. In the infinite, no addition can be made, or whatsoever addition is made, it makes no difference at the infinite state. And that state of supreme fulfillment is inconceivable. It is difficult to accept, believe a human being can be fulfilled, absolutely fulfilled. We all go through fulfillment, but it's so temporary by nature. Everybody has experienced some fulfillment or the other. But that fulfillment that everyone experiences are so temporary by nature. Because of it being temporary by nature, it lasts for a while and goes away. There is no absolute fulfillment. Here he is talking about an absolute fulfillment. A fulfillment not experienced because the instruments are satisfied. A fulfillment not because the instruments are satisfied. When the instruments are satisfied, there is a fulfillment, and the nature of the fulfillment is temporary by nature. That's why he says here, no physical pleasure, no emotional joy, no intellectual satisfaction can augment his state of supreme bliss. He is so supremely fulfilled. Whatever the greatest happiness the world can provide cannot enhance that bliss. Elsewhere in the Taittiriya Upanishad, they do a comparative study. They do a comparative study of the bliss. What is the highest bliss that you can get in the world? When all that is fulfilled, A plus in everything. The most beautiful person you are, the most powerful person you are, the most knowledgeable person you are. Everything is best. Combine all that he calls it as 1 unit of happiness. The best in that itself is very difficult. Huh? You don't get it like that. That itself is very difficult. Okay. If your nose is beautiful, eyes will be not so beautiful. If the eyes are beautiful, the ears will not be beautiful. So something or the. Now here is a case where everything is A plus, A plus, A plus, A plus, A plus. You get married, the partner will listen to you. You produce children, they will implicitly obey you. Add up everything. That is 1 unit happiness. That is 1 unit happiness. And then he goes on to say, in different experiences, different, the numbers goes on increasing. Finally, the bliss of realization, he says, is incomparable. The bliss of from the worldly bliss, he talks about the various lokas. Various loka means various experiences. The Gandharva loka, the Pitru loka, the Swarga loka, the Indra loka, the Brahma loka. And in every loka, the unit joy that you experience in the human embodiment is 100 times more. In Gandharva loka, it is 100 times more. You Pitru loka, it is 100 times more than Gandharva loka. So it means 100 into 100. I don't know whatever that number is. 100 into 100. And then that multiplied by 100. And Brahma loka is, in that bliss of Brahma loka itself is too much. And then he says, the bliss of self-realization is incomparable, insignificant. The bliss of Lord Brahma in Brahma loka is insignificant, like a pinch of salt pieces. That only. What is that? The bliss of Brahma loka compared to the bliss of self-realization. The greatest happiness that the world can provide cannot enhance its bliss. The greatest bliss is Brahma loka. The deepest sorrow diminished. Just as there are grades of lokas in the ascending order, there are grades of lokas in the descending order also. There are grades, 7 hells. And the lowest hell is the 7th one. Patala it is called. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Patala. Then don't worry about these names. I'm just showing off what all I know. Don't worry about these names. These are all the gradations that goes in intensity of sorrow. And Patala is, you can't get sorrow deeper than that. You can be experiencing a sorrow as in Patala Loka, or you can be experiencing bliss as in Brahma Loka. Both makes no difference to this person, he says. Why? Because he is in that state of infinite bliss. And that infinite, that bliss, that fulfillment is inconceivable. How can a person be so supremely contented? That's what it means. Fulfillment, contentment are all. You can use it synonymous. How can a person be so supremely contented? And here is a person who is supremely contented. Opposite of this is where a person feels unfulfilled. Compare and contrast it with unfulfillment. You can understand the fulfillment. compared to this is a state of permanent unfulfillment. Irrespective of what you get or what you don't get, there is an inner state of unfulfillment. And throughout the Puranic stories, we have read stories of how these great men are so supremely fulfilled. So supremely fulfilled that gods shiver at them. Even the gods feel helpless even the gods become helpless, they pale in front of these great men. Who are they? The self-realized one. The person who has reached the state of self-realization. The one who recognizes the Purnatvam is fulfilled. The one who has understood the Purnatvam is fulfilled. You can have two visions about life. Two conflicting notions you can have about life. One is life can be seen as abundance. Another is life can be seen as limited resources. Two notions you can have, two ways you can look at life. One way of looking at it is abundance. Another way of looking at it is limited resources. Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadhaya, Purnameva Vasishyate. A person who recognizes the Purnatvam is one who understands the abundance of life. A person who doesn't recognize the Purnatvam believes it is limited resources. And if you believe life is limited resources, what happens? If you believe there is only limited resources, what happens? Limited supply of COVID vaccine. What happens? What will happen?
Hoarding.
If the Prime Minister is your friend, you will want to call the Prime Minister and say, give me two doses, no? Limited resources. When you understand life as a limited resource, what would be your attitude towards life? How would you see life? A permanent discontentment. A permanent discontentment. Competition.
Hoarding.
Early bird catches the
Worm. Best worms.
I don't know what best worm. Huh? The early bird catches the best worm, and everybody wants to be that early bird. So there is a lot of competition, there is a lot of friction, there is a lot of fear, there is a lot of anxiety, all because life is seen as limited resources. That's why you want to hoard for generations, you want to hoard. Not only for one generation, you want to hoard for 3-4 generations also. Why? Because it is limited. It is limited resources. What you should do? Grab as much as you can and hoard as much as you can. A person carrying this notion about life what fulfillment, what contentment that person can experience? Nothing. Opposite of that is another view of life. Vedanta says, if you have the right knowledge and understanding, you would see life as abundance. And when you see life as abundance, abundance means infinite. Infinite. You have 10 rupees, you give away 5 rupees, you are left with 5 rupees. Simple mathematics. You have 10 rupees, you give away 10 rupees, you are left with
Zero.
That is why don't give at all. Because if you go on giving, what will happen? I will end up in zero. Yeah. These fellows will keep making appeals after appeals after appeal. Amma, we will close our ears. That's all. Why get into all these things? Why? Because it is limited resources. If you have 10 rupees, you give away 5 rupees, you are left with 5 rupees. You have 10 rupees, you give away 10 rupees, you are left with 0. And life has a different mathematics. Vedanta, life has a different mathematics. What is the mathematics of life? You have 10 rupees, you give away 10 rupees, you are left with 10 rupees. This is weird. Yeah. But we have great mathematicians and all sitting in the class today. So they will say, you have 10 rupees, you give away 10 rupees, and you are left with 10 rupees. What does it mean? Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnam Udachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadhaya, Purnameva Vasishyate. And you can't say anything better than this. Whatsoever is said will be a repetition of this only. Whatsoever anybody says, whomsoever it is, they will be only repeating this mantra. Or you can't say anything, but what is this? It is infinite. A person who has recognized this infinite nature, that person experiences fulfillment. Fulfillment not because of acquisition, fulfillment not because of having gotten what you wanted, a fulfillment arising out of recognizing the true nature. Philosophically, when you get back to your original nature, that is fulfillment. Till you get back to your original nature, there will be this unfulfillment. This unfulfillment driving you to seek that fulfillment. Here is a person who has gotten back to that original. Here is a person who has gotten back to one's original stature, one's original nature. Therefore, you find there is a supreme fulfillment. Opposite of fulfillment is unfulfillment. Opposite of fulfillment is unfulfillment. You cannot be a happy, unfulfilled person. It is not possible. You can't be a peaceful, happy, unfulfilled person. How is it possible? As long as you are experiencing unfulfillment, you can never experience peace and happiness and contentment. You can never experience that. Okay, unfulfillment. a sense of insecurity. That's what unfulfillment is all about. A sense of insecurity. Everything is there. Everybody around you will say, what are you worrying? And you will say, what is there not to worry? The others around you will say, no, look at your blessings. Look at the things that you got. What is there to worry? But you will say, but you will have your worries. Insecurity. What all causes insecurity? What all causes insecurity? Weakness for numbers. When you are dependent on numbers, when you have weakness for numbers, there is insecurity. Numbers. More the numbers, more secure. Less the numbers, less secure. You see the bank balance, 5 digits, insecure. 6 digits, okay. 7 digits, konjam. 8 digits, I don't know what is 8 digits, I'm just saying. Simply I'm just adding up. 8 digits. First reason is weakness for numbers. Dependent. A person who derives strength from numbers is an insecure person. Why I am talking about that is, you understand insecurity, you understand what is unfulfillment. From understanding unfulfillment, you can get a glimpse of what is this fulfillment that he is talking about. That's why. Otherwise, to say again and again, he is fulfilled, he is fulfilled, he is fulfilled. How do you understand? So, a few causes are there for insecurity. The first one is weakness for
Numbers.
numbers. More the numbers,
Better.
more secure. 100 temples I have visited, more secure. Only one temple I have gone, less secure. Are you able to follow? In any aspect of life, security is derived from
Numbers.
numbers. Insecurities arises from a deep sense of unfulfillment. So that unfulfillment, you believe that more the numbers, more fulfillment is. Because of this, there is a dependency on numbers. First reason for insecurity is numbers. Second is, you always have to be part of a group. Some group, doesn't matter. You have to be part of a group and you have to be a very important person in the group. Not the best or anything, but you have to be part of a group and also you have to be an important person in the group. For the group gives, being part of the group gives
Security.
a security. And when where there is security, there is fulfillment. The group could be family members. The group could be organization. The group could be Rotary Club. The group could be Vedanta class also. But somewhere I have to be part of
Group.
some group. At least I am part of your group, no sir. I myself don't have a thing where is part of the group. Opposite of that is, that is why a sannyasi walks alone, lives alone, supremely fulfilled. He is not in need of a group. That's why he walks alone, he lives alone, he's all by himself, supremely fulfilled. Weakness is you have to be part of a group. If there is no group, a sense of loneliness comes, and where there is sense of loneliness, there is a insecurity and fulfillment. So, being part of a group makes you feel secure and it makes you feel fulfilled. And all these are wrong. What we are trying to say is, these kind of fulfillment is all. These are all not fulfillment in the true sense of the. Another reason. Don't ask me to repeat, Vijay. I'm just talking from memory lane. I'm just blabbering something. If you ask me to repeat, I will say next class. What did I say first? Numbers. Second, group. Third, the unfulfillment drives you to seek so much of information, and more information you gather, more insecure you start feeling. And in the current day, in the present day generation, the intelligent people are the most frightened people. No? More intelligent, more knowledgeable you are, more they shiver. And we thought knowledge is going to, what is the word they use now? Empower, isn't it? Empower. Knowledge empowers. Knowledge doesn't seem to empower. Knowledge seems to create more and more
fear,
insecurity. Information, knowledge, other than the field of your expertise is deadly, is dangerous. That's why in Vedanta, for all fields of knowledge, we talk about the adhikari. Adhikari means one who is
qualified.
One who is qualified. You need to have a qualification to receive knowledge. You can't be, not everybody is qualified to know everything. Not everybody is, but today everybody believes they know everything. Yeah. Whether Brahman is all-pervading or not, Google is all-pervading. You don't know about Brahman, but Google is definitely all-pervading. And you go to the doctor gives you a prescription. As soon as you come out of the room, what will you do? What do you do?
Google.
How many of you have done that? Don't tell me, please, I'm not interested. What you do is your thing. I'm not interested in what you do. You Google, and then you read about the medicines. And when you read about the medicine that the doctor has prescribed, it looks like he is not curing you of your disease. It looks like he is poisoning you to death. Looks like he is there to murder you. Looks like he is there to poison you to death. That knowledge of what that medication is, instead of making you stronger, fulfilled, makes you weak. And today everybody knows everything. And that too about COVID, I tell you. Who doesn't know about COVID-19 here? Everybody knows. Even only the doctors don't know. Only the doctors treating the patients don't know about COVID, and rest all know what to do. what not to do. And when somebody sneezes, there is fear. When somebody comes, there is fear. Unfulfillment. Living in a state of
constant fear.
insecurity, fear, unfulfillment. Changes causes insecurity. Change causes. That is why we want everybody to be like a
See,
robo, like a machine, not changing. Because when they change, we do not know how to deal with the change, and the very fact that it is going to change causes insecurity, unfulfillment. Here is this person understands for strength, fulfillment is not going to come through numbers. Being part of a group and all is the role that you play. You are not that. Being part of a group is the role that you are playing, and you have nothing to do with the role that you play. What the intellect can understand and what lies beyond the intellect is so vast that ignorance doesn't. In fact, he bows down to that ignorance in devotion, and that ignorance doesn't cause any insecurity. He understands nature is to change, and changes do not disturb. Fulfillment. Relatively speaking, you understand it in this way, and then you stretch it. You can get a glimpse of what he said. Why it is so difficult? Because he himself has said it clearly. It cannot be captured in words. This state of supreme fulfillment is inconceivable, and it cannot be captured
by words.
In words. We keep saying that which cannot be captured in words, and we talk about it for 1 hour. If we say that which cannot be captured by words, we just have to shut up. No. Why talk about it for 1 hour and keep repeating that it cannot be captured by words, it cannot be captured by words. To say that there is something so subtle and beautiful and wonderful in this quality of fulfillment. There is something so beautiful in it. There is something so wonderful in it. What is that? The helplessness of the fellow not knowing what to ask. That is fulfillment. He is so helpless that he doesn't know what to ask. What has stated? God is not coming in front of us, that's why. If God comes in front of us, we have a long list of what we want. Sir, I don't ask for anything. I only ask for moksha, sir. I can ask for moksha, no? Something you have to ask, doesn't matter what it is. But you have to ask something. Satisfaction comes from what asking, that's all. Whether what you ask doesn't make any difference. What is that, and what is this fulfillment? The helplessness of this person, that they are so supremely contented that they do not know what to ask. And invariably you look at them, their lifestyle. I mean, what I meant is that their lifestyle is so, you will feel so sympathetic towards these people. You will feel so You'll feel so sorry for them, in fact. If somebody takes up to sannyas, we don't celebrate. We say, "Yo pava ennacho terla," isn't it? If somebody becomes a sannyas, if somebody takes up to sannyas, what you should do? It should be an occasion for
Celebration.
It an occasion for celebration. Why? At least one person is becoming strong. One person has become wise. It is an occasion to be celebrated. But we don't do that. We feel, "Yo pava," we don't know what happened to that fellow. We pity them, we sympathize them. And what is the true stature of these men, of these human beings? They are so helpless. The worst of circumstances or the best of circumstances, one thing will not come out of them. What is it? Asking, not out of ego. It's not ego, it's not arrogance that I will not ask who are they. It's not all that. Genuinely, they don't feel the
Need.
Genuinely, they don't feel the need at all. That's what fulfillment is all about. A person who is feeling insecure can never understand this. A person who is constantly facing this insecurity will find it difficult to conceive how a person can be like this. How could a person life like this? Sadly, everything is at this person's beck and call. Everything is available to this person, and this person turns his back away. What is fulfillment? The utter helplessness of there is nothing to ask. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudramapah pravishanti yadvat. Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve ashanti mapnoti nakama kami. Verse number in the chapter. This chapter we should know, no? Which chapter it is? Chapter 2. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudramapah. Like the ocean. He is like the ocean. What will the ocean ask for? What it will ask? Rivers come in, doesn't make any difference. Water getting evaporated doesn't make any difference. It is supremely fulfilled. It is supremely fulfilled. What is the indication of fulfillment? Not asking. Not asking. Not asking. Genuinely, that person doesn't have any need, therefore he doesn't ask. Asking comes when there is a need, a necessity. When you feel that you are in need of something and you want something, you will ask. Here is a person who doesn't feel the need for anything, the necessity for anything. It happened in the early days of Ramana Maharshi's life. Ramana Maharshi talks about it much later. In the early days of his life, he was all by himself sitting in the caves. One by one, people started gathering around him, and they started living with him. After a long period of time, there are about 4 or 5 people gathered around him, and their everyday job is to go to the town, beg in the streets, and whatever food they get, they bring it up, and all of them eat. And Ramana will not go to the town, na? He never goes. He sends these fellows. You go, so they go beg, bring. One day the devotees came and said that we have to leave Tiruvannamalai. We need to leave this place. Why? Nobody recognizes your greatness here. Nobody recognizes your greatness here. The disciples told Ramana that we have to vacate this place. Let us move to some other place where people know your worth, people know your value. For nobody here knows your value. Nobody here knows your worth. Ramana asked, what happened? No food today. They went on the begging, no food today. Ramana said, oh, no food today? We will thank Arunachala for this. No food. What are you talking? Yesterday we got food and we thanked. Today we didn't get food and we thanked for that. That state of fulfillment. That is called fulfillment. That incapacity to ask. Mind is a beggar, it keeps asking. Mind is a beggar, it keeps asking. That's why it's so, this mind is the beggar thing in it keeps, something or other it keeps asking. What it will ask? Pay attention to me, feed me. That's what it asks. What the mind is asking? Pay attention to me. And you need somebody, it needs one or two persons to pay attention. And whoever pays attention, what an excitement. And when the person stops paying attention,
dejection.
Oh, are you able to follow? Mind is a beggar. And a beggar can never know what fulfillment is. A giver knows what fulfillment is. Only a giver knows fulfillment. A beggar cannot know fulfillment. That is why we say to start experiencing this, the grossest thing, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita, dravya. Start giving material things. Start giving material things and experience the strength that arises out of giving. For who can give? A person who experiences abundance will not ask. Connected to that. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. A person who experiences abundance knows that it is there already. If it is there already, what will you ask for? But sir, irukkiradhu poradu. But inflation is there, no? Inflation is there, no? What to do for inflation? One person told me. What you are saying is correct, sir, but you don't know economics. I said, what is economics? Inflation, sir. And I asked him, what is inflation? That with 100 rupees, what you can buy today, 10 years later, that 100 rupees will have the value of 10 rupee only. Though in number wise it looks like 100 rupee, in value it is of only 10 rupees. So it means you need to go. How do you... That person can never know what fulfillment is. A person who doesn't need anything, who doesn't experience the need for anything, a person who doesn't experience any emptiness inside, the void, a person who doesn't experience emptiness is the person who is fulfilled. Unfulfillment means the void. Void is that unfulfilled. The sense of emptiness is that unfulfilled. Emptiness. Abundance of objects, you feel empty. Abundance of objects around you, you feel empty. Beings around you, showering you with love and affection, you feel? How do you feel? Lonely. Lonely, I'm so lonely, sir. It's like walking into an empty house. The house is not empty. House is full of people only. It's not an empty house. It is like walking into an empty house. My house, when I come back, only the dog welcomes me. Nobody else welcomes me. When I come back, nobody is welcoming. Nobody is have the warmth in their face. Everybody is looking at me as though, why did you come? Or maybe they are asking, why did you come back? Only the dog is welcoming me. An inner emptiness that cannot be filled with anything. Anything means everything you put, it will still be empty only. Mullah Nasruddin found a begging bowl. He had a begging bowl. And that begging bowl is a mystical bowl. Whatsoever is put inside, it swallows that and it remains empty. So people kept on, you put grains in it, it swallows that. You put coins in it, it swallows. Anything you put, it is empty. The king found out that Mullah Nasruddin is having a begging bowl like this. He said, I will fill the bowl. So he tried filling the bowl with all that was there in the country. He tried filling it. It consumed everything and still empty only. The king asked, what is this mystical bowl? Where you got this from? Graveyard, he said. Graveyard. Graveyard? Yeah. This is a human skull, he said. This is the skull of the human being. You put and you keep pouring. Allah. Swaha. Yeah. It consumes everything. Emptiness remains as ever. Emptiness remains. Mullah Nasruddin said, graveyard. He said, what graveyard? This is the human skull. Some human being's skull it is. Unfulfilled. That is unfulfilled. And here is this person who is supremely fulfilled. A fulfillment that arises out of recognizing the nature. Recognizing the Purnatvam, fulfillment comes. Fulfillment not because of attainment of something, fulfillment not because of achievement of something. It's knowledge. Knowledge means anubhava here. What we mean by knowledge is, till the person experiences the Purnatvam, there will be a sense of unfulfillment. Now, relatively, how do you understand that? More you evolve, less you will ask. Because whatsoever is needed is provided already. What is there to ask? In fact, a human being is so dumb, so ignorant that he will not know what to ask. That's why nature provides what is needed. If you ask if the nature has left to the infant to ask, what it will ask? Pepsi and Coke it will ask. It will not ask for the mother's milk. What it will ask for? A human being is so dumb, so ignorant, so unintelligent that he doesn't know
What to ask?
one doesn't know what to ask. Nature, the divine, that's why they say there is a divinity that shapes our ends. The divine has already provided you with what is
Needed.
needed. Therefore, there is no need to ask. There is no need to ask. When there is no need to ask, actions will turn towards service. Action will turn towards service when asking stops. Why? Because you understand that what is needed, what is beneficial to you is provided even without you asking. Number one. Number two, whatsoever you ask is harmful to you only. So what is the wise thing to do? What is the wise thing to do?
What to ask?
Whatsoever you are provided with, be grateful and start serving instead of asking. You find fulfillment. One finds fulfillment. For what is needed for your benefit is provided. And if you are allowed, if you are given the choice to ask, you invariably ask what the mind will ask. What is the nature of the mind? What the mind will ask? Instant, immediate happiness. That's what the mind knows to ask. And that is Amritam Visham. Understand the difference. Whatsoever the mind asks for is Visham, poisonous. Whatsoever the mind asks for is poisonous. That which is needed for you, you need not ask, it's provided already. All that you need to do is what? Be grateful to that and start serving. Yes, sir, correct. I serve my wife, my family, and that's it. I don't go. And Vedanta also says charity begins at home. No, it ends at home only. Yeah, charity begins. It ends at home. A fulfillment that arises out of recognizing the abundance, recognizing what is benefit to you is provided already. Therefore, all that you need to do is to be grateful and start serving. A person of gratitude finds fulfillment. That is the connection. That's why it says you are indebted at birth. How can you go? How can you ask more and more and more? Vedas, the Rigveda, Yajurveda says, Rina, you are indebted at birth. Like Swamiji says, no, oxygen, the internal pressure, the external pressure, it's all there in the Rigveda, it's all there in the Yajurveda. It's all provided. There, all that you need to do is what? Be grateful and think in terms of serving. And what is the best service that you can do? Stop asking, that's all. Stop asking. Will you love me? How beggarly it is. Do you love me? Please love me. People do that, no? Do you love me? Will you love me? Please love me. Dog is the only thing that loves me, sir. Nobody else is loving. Why do you have that beggarly attitude? Is because of the sense of unfulfillment. So, as long as the sense of unfulfillment is there, as long as you don't recognize that which is beneficial to you, that which is necessary for your growth is already provided, all that you need to do is recognize and start living a life of service and sacrifice, you find supreme fulfillment. Here is a person who has done that 100% and found supreme, that state of fulfillment. His intrinsic being, his inner. What is his intrinsic being? What is happening inside of him? What is happening inside of him? 5 things is happening. What are the 5 things? Infinite power, infinite love, infinite knowledge, completely self-sufficient. And today we saw how supremely contented, fulfilled he is. And that fulfillment manifests as helplessness in not knowing what to ask. What a beautiful state it is. No, how blessed that person should be when he doesn't know what to ask. Words, that's our life to a tragedy. யாருக்கெல்லாம் வேணாமோ அவங்களுக்கெல்லாம் பொறுத்து. Here I am sitting with a big list. Nothing is coming here. It's going to the fellow who is not
needed.
Srischate Lakshmischya Patnyau. Purusha Sukta. Wealth and prosperity would be at your doorsteps waiting to attend on you. Srischate Lakshmischya Patnyau. In the Purusha Sukta Vedic prayer, it says, that's what in the initial portion he says, Vedanta provides you that prosperity. It's there. Provides you means it is there. Availability is there. You may take it, you may not take it. That is a different story. But then you know that it is there, and the fact that it is there in abundance makes you so fulfilled. But sir, it should be in my account. No. If it is in your account, what is the problem? How can I find fulfillment if it is in your account? If fulfillment has to come, it should be in my account. No. Do you need my account number? I don't need that. If you ask, I will give my account number only. Why will I take your account number? What will I do with it? Fulfillment. Utter helplessness because of the complete fulfillment that it doesn't know what to ask. We have seen so many stories. With this we conclude. So many stories. One story we heard is shift the elephantitis from
Left to right.
the right leg to the left leg. The sensible person means he should ask, free me from elephantitis. No. Now, whether it is in the right leg or left leg, what difference does it make? Either shift the elephantitis from the right leg to the left leg. He is not asking, I should be free from elephantitis. Another example. Let the thread follow the needle. Where it will go? It will follow the needle only. Here is the example of, we have a lot of parables of Alexander and the sages. Parables we have. Lot of parables are there. One such parable is quoted here, where the sage said, take a step aside and let the sunbeam fall on my eyes. He's not saying release me from the prison. Not asking. Why? Because they just do not know what to ask. If at all they ask, that is also for your benefit, not for that person's benefit. If at all they ask, they don't. If at all they ask, your benefit. Like, if Buddha gets angry at you, is he disturbed that he is getting angry? If a master gets angry at you, is he agitated and disturbed that he is getting angry at you? In that anger lies your welfare. Correct? That's why if the master gets angry at you, you are grateful to that anger also. You don't come out and say, why is he getting angry at me? How dare he can get angry at me? You don't say. Why? Because you recognize that in that anger lies your
salvation.
Lies your welfare. If Gautam Buddha gets angry at you, you will be grateful to his anger. If an enlightened master gets angry at you, you should be grateful to his anger. Why? Because whatsoever they do lies. What is the focus? Lies your benefit. Why? They are supremely fulfilled. They are supremely contented. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam. Like the ocean they are. It doesn't make any difference whether what is given or what is taken away. Doesn't make any difference. The whole world says you are the best person. Is that so? Remember that story. Huh? The whole town came and said, you are the worst fellow we have seen till now. World has seen so many frauds. World has seen so many pseudo swamis, and you are the king of all them. Is that so? Is that so? It doesn't make any difference at all. This fulfillment is so liberating. This fulfillment is so liberating. This fulfillment is so elevating, ennobling it is. Where even relatively, if you can practice it, you will be like Yudhishthira. You will be like Yudhishthira. You know that, no? Yudhishthira's chariot has a different. Even Krishna's chariot is not like that. Yudhishthira's chariot is different. What is the chariot? What is the difference? Yudhishthira's chariot, it is always 2 feet above ground. Speed breaker, isn't it? No potholes, no speed breakers, no nothing. Bullet train goes a few inches above the rails, that's all. And this fellow's chariot is 2 feet above that. Even relatively speaking, if you live this life of dharma, and what is the life of dharma? There is only one dharma, not us. All dharma boils down to this principle. What? Not to ask. Why? Asking is ingratitude. When so much is there already, how sickly a person has to be to ask for more. When it is in abundance, Purnamada Purnamidam, in the absolute sense. Even in the relative sense, when it is there, what is there to ask for? So dharma is to not, if you are not asking, by default what you will become? If you are not the taker, you become the giver. If you are not the asker, you become the giver. But that happens by default. Here is this person who is utterly helpless. Utterly helpless in what? He is in the worst circumstance of his life, and in that worst circumstance doesn't know
what to ask.
Doesn't know what to ask because you see it as worse. In him, he is like a king inside. Rajavatsada. Bhagavad Gita. Like the king. Rajavatsada. Like a king always. Like the king always. He is the king. That's what Jesus Christ also said. I am Caesar's Caesar. I am the king's king. That's supreme fulfillment. Extraordinary quality. His fulfillment. With this, we conclude the topic, his intrinsic being. With this, the topic, his intrinsic being is concluded. Next week, we study a very important concept, his extrinsic conduct. Till now, we saw his intrinsic being, what is happening inside of him. Next week, we will be discussing a very, very important topic, his extrinsic conduct. With this, we conclude for today.